Hi, intrepid viewers. Well, a small celebration with all this horrible stuff going on. I am out of quarantine as of this morning. Yahoo! So I rushed out into the rain and galloped around the block a few times because being confined to the actual house was quite hard going. How many of you are taking up quilting or whatever you're doing to stay sane? Oh, I know. Now, I haven't given a trigger warning for a while, and because this will be on Trump in April, and whenever I put out a video with the name of the Yeti on it, you tend to attract some extra new viewers. So if you're a new viewer, I do just have to be perfectly clear. If you're one of the 45% who thinks that Trump is doing a good job in the face of this pandemic, not the channel for you. In fact, you don't need a tarot reader. You really don't. I'd suggest looking for options to be professionally deprogrammed, because no one in their right mind could say that this self-obsessed, narcissistic, absolute ratbag, as we say in Australia, with the concentration span of an amoeba, should be leading the biggest nation. Well, it's not the biggest nation, there's several others that are bigger, but leading the United States of America in this time of genuine crisis. So that's my trigger warning. And we're going to look at the Yeti in April. But before we do, I mean, there is so much news every hour, and most of it isn't good. And Pence, last night, someone wound up the key in his back, so he spoke, and said 200,000 masks, which would probably last, I don't know, a week in a busy city, 200,000 masks were being made available. But then, as reporters checked and found out, no, they're not going to hospitals. What he means, made available to private companies to sell at auction prices to those who desperately need them. I mean, the outrage barometer has gone off the dial, hasn't it? I mean, you think they cannot come to a more scabrous low, but they do. Each week they manage to outdo the week before in their shockingness. Now, moving on, Lena. All right. Trump in April, normally I'd do week by week, but there's no point, so I'm going to do an abbreviated sort of Celtic cross for this. So, just give me a moment here with the questions. So, Trump in April. Trump in April. Trump in April. Yeah. Oh, my cards are probably all upside down. Ooh. Here we go. All right. Now, for those of you who are interested, I'm using the Fate Shifter cards. Okay. So in the center, he's got problems already. Page of Swords, spy in the camp. Now, this White House has always leaked like a sieve from day one, but things are more serious now, and therefore the leaks are more serious now. So he has a real problem there. What's crossing him for April? He's had a very privileged life, right? My first digression, viewers. Let's talk about the basics here. Trump has never worked a day in his life. He was a millionaire by the age of 8, thanks to his father. All he did as an adult was work out new ways to lose money. over and over and over and over and over and over. That's all he ever did. Please do not call it work, right? Work is being on the front line, like these health workers are doing, and the orderlies and the cleaners, as I've said before. You know, these are the vulnerable populations. He does not work. He must not use the W word. Now, this card can be quite okay, but in this context, speaking of this particular creature, it's the card of the dilettante. Born to privilege, doesn't quite get it. Could be Jared Kushner's card. I'm sure he'd love the outfit. The point is, you know, with Kushner too, there's a complete out of touchness, you know. So his biggest problem is the fact not only has he got the concentration span of an amoeba, but his brain actually doesn't work. It's never been asked to work and doesn't work. It's actually a redundant bit of machinery. And so he doesn't get it, but he doesn't get it in the sense that he's never come near the real world. Okay. So underlying what's happening for him in April is the Three of Pentacles, group work. On the positive side, it could be group work in the sense the rest of the nation is desperately pulling together and trying to make things work. At a more cynical level, the implication is dark money, dirty money. And this is part of what's being exposed by the Trump administration generally, because in turn, because he's such a legal magnet, because he does so many illegal activities in a day or a week or a month or a year, that it's going to bring all these ongoing legal cases that also expose the Republicans. So in any event, this is the machinations about money. Right, in the past, the devil card. Now, most of us in tarot do not actually think of this as the devil as an entity. It's not. It's about greed and avarice and all the negative things, the lack of empathy, all of that stuff that has always been in play. Now, what resides above? Got a couple of things to say about the Four of Swords. Traditionally, the card of retreat. For some, oops, not being well. For others, I want to point out, see the stained glass window here, right? It represents an enigma or a puzzle to be solved, i.e. how to save America, which is looking more and more like a developing country every 3 or 4 days. The stats that are coming out, not just of infections, but the lack of equipment, the lack of organisation, the lack of leadership. This is the real puzzle, you know, to the rest of the world of what's happening in America. The journey. This is his journey in April. He's going to continue to put the pillow over his head. What about bringing out that guy, Mr. Pillow, or whoever it was? I thought I was watching a sketch from Saturday Night Live. I couldn't actually believe it. This is a card of nostalgia because he lives in the past, in the sense of things were all right before I was president. Things were all right until a few weeks ago. They're not all right now. So he's looking back and he's not engaged now and he's not engaged with the future. So this is his personal journey through April, which is looking that way. Thank God most of the states are stepping up. Whoa. Look, advice. This is a card of disappointment. He won't take advice. Or he does, but from Jared Kushner and I don't know who else, you know, perhaps Mr. Pillow. But he's sure as hell not taking advice from grown-ups. He's not taking advice from the Pentagon. He's not taking advice from long-term public servants. He's not taking advice. He's turning his back on the advice, the card of disappointment. So, again and again, my Wake Up America card, you're being called to wake up. And it's the same here with the UK, particularly. The two Yetis, Boris and what's his face, Trump, have handled it worse than any other first world country, absolutely worse. And so the people of the UK in particular and the US in particular, but it's a global message, we must all wake up and take responsibility for the terrible governments that we've been dealt, because as that old saying, people get the government they deserve. This is a rallying call, right, for the people. So for him, the position for him in April, this is external influences. This is the waking up of America. And I have some good news for you. Through this trauma, and let's be honest, you're at the beginning of what will get much worse before it gets better. Eventually, I genuinely believe you will end up with universal health care on the other side of this. I don't mean 2021, but not long after that. I think by 2024, you will have universal health care, because the experiences people are going to have with ill-equipped hospitals in the first world are going to be so shocking and galling and aggravating to people. It's going to change the American psyche, like the Great Depression did and like the war did. And that's why groups of people, like everyone on the planet right now, has to experience these things in the collective to shift. Okay, so what's his hopes and fears? Hopes and fears, the Hierophant. His fear is the government itself. He might, call it the deep state, which Steve Bannon gave him as an idea because he would never have read a book or know what it really means. But in the real world, it's talking about government and churches. And I think it's speaking to churches on two levels. I think it's speaking to the evangelicals sort of nailed to Trumpites who will begin to experience this. But I think it's speaking to the traditional churches who, even if their doors are closed, need to step up and support their communities that have been supporting them for 2,000 years. Time, particularly the Catholic Church. Look at the poorest countries in the world, and the Catholic countries are highly represented, like, the Philippines, Latin America. What's kept them? They're all potentially rich countries. Why aren't they rich? It's because the Catholic Church, don't start me on this, the lack of contraception, meaning people had too many kids and then you couldn't feed them and you can't educate them if you've got 16 kids, and so it goes on. Keeping countries poor, making poor people give you money, those days are gone. So it's time for the conventional mainstream churches to step up. I think they began to around the children at the border, but they really need to be a force now. America says it's a majority Christian country, so time to stand up and be counted. And I know, intrepid viewers, there are those of you out there who know exactly what I mean, and there's plenty of room for real Christians now in this time, and that is helping people beside you, just as other people of any religious belief or persuasion or lack of religious belief, just decency, human decency, helping each other out. So back to this, hopes and fears. It's speaking to the backlash he's going to get, I think, about the evangelicals still keeping their churches open, but also government itself. The struggles of government are going to be completely transparent to the population of America. What's his outcome? More of the same. So he's going to survive April, but by then, you know what? He's going to be hamstrung. We're going to keep seeing these stupid misinformation briefings. I mean, they're a travesty. They're an absolute travesty. Probably through April, another couple of weeks, then they might pull the plug on him altogether. But by the end of April, he will be a lame duck president. That means he has to limp into the spring and summer completely as a lame duck. He is losing people in droves, you know. So we're seeing the erosion of the cult, I think, and more importantly, he will certainly lose the middle quite quickly. Those who weren't natural Trump voters but didn't want Hillary or thought they'd give him a go, all those independents, I'd say he's lost the majority by now, and at the end of this crisis, he'll have lost them all. So that's what I see for him. This is soul searching for him, except he hasn't got a soul. So that's replaced with, instead of peaceful retreat, blind panic, because he has no inner world. He has to spit out. He's like a llama. Sorry, llamas. And I want to apologise, a generic apology out of my lips to all Yetis and Yeti lovers. I'm so sorry, but it has sort of become a trademark of this channel, and I, in fact, love Yetis. Now, before we go, Biden and Tara Reid. I said probably 6 months ago, one of the problems with Biden, apart from being very, very subdued, not good quality in a president, but look, I'm not going to fight that one. He is one of those people who nuzzles women's necks and things, even if he doesn't go as far as he allegedly went with Tara Reid. There's two issues here. There's the Tara Reid story, and then there's the nuzzling and the hugging that isn't so acceptable in the modern world. And one of my fears is there's going to be 1,000 images come out about Biden acting what is seen as inappropriate in the modern world with women. But I think he'll be able to weather that storm. But I have to have a look at the Tara Reid thing just briefly, because I read with somebody, must have been Johnny and Jen Lynn, hope you caught that video. With her, what I got from that reading was she just wanted to get her story out, and now it's out. It's almost like she doesn't even particularly want to prosecute, she just wanted it to be told. So the angle I'm taking today to be different from that is Biden, in light of the Tara Reid story, how is Biden going to fare, let's say, over the spring and summer? Will he be able to step up and have a bit more gravitas, or maybe he doesn't have to? Let's have a look at Biden in the next few months. Biden. I'm just doing a 4-card for him. I'm going to have to do 5. Oh, they're not marvellous cards, troops. They're not marvellous cards. I'll do some clarifiers, in fact. He gets the 7 of Swords. Someone's getting away with a lot. Is this Biden getting away with more than we think he's done? Or is it more that people, I think this is speaking more to another digression, viewers. I think this is speaking to the Hunter Biden stuff, you know, being ripped off in terms of that stupid story. As I've said often, Hunter Biden was just another privileged kid who got a big job that he didn't actually deserve. And unfortunately, that's not illegal. So there's nothing there as a story, but I think this card is speaking to that story. So what's happened to Giuliani, by the way? It's back there with Giuliani and Lev, etc., etc. And it's on top. So it's going to keep coming back through the news cycle when we have a news cycle that isn't just a body count, right? It'll cycle back, but I don't think it's fatal, but it's very restrictive. He'll get momentum. My question was spring and summer. He'll get momentum, quite a lot of momentum. And I feel he's going to receive a lot of push, right? To the extent it might even be too much pushing. He's not thrilled with something that comes on board here. See the crossed arms, resisting the offer. This might be, I'm hearing VP. Okay, I think the Democratic machine, you know, the corporate Dems, the old guard, the Democratic machine is wanting to allocate him a VP. They want total control. This is not Joe Biden kicking back with his, you know, shoes off and his woolly socks over a glass of claret deciding who he wants for VP. This is being told who he's going to have for VP, and I don't think it's a natural fit. I think they're going to push Kamala Harris. Oh. It's not that she's not an impressive woman, but she does come with things, and she'd be much better off in legal land than she would be. Oh, we all love Stacey. Oh, or even Elizabeth Warren, or especially Elizabeth Warren, or something. I have a feeling it's to do with the VP, but his hands are tied about this. I'll have to do another reading just on that. Ooh. All right. Now, beloved intrepid viewers, I've had such a buzz doing readings with you guys. I am so loving it. So thank you all. I love it. Okay, so that's great buzz. All right. Now, I will see you soon. I'm going to put up a very short poem in the comments here. It's gone viral. Probably 60% of you have already seen it somewhere. It's called And the People Stay Home by Kitty O'Meara. It's a very Irish name. Okay, I love you guys. Keep the comments rolling. Take care. Bye. Bye.